I'd like to call this meeting to order for the City Council meeting of August 15th, 2023. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez. Councilmember Cordero.
Here.
Councilmember Escobedo.
Here.
Councilmember Soto. Here. Mayor Patino.
Here. First item on the agenda is public comment period. Madam Clerk, we do have requests to speak. It's right here. Ms. Hilda Zacharias, who was on the council at one time. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's so fun to be in this room for so many different reasons, but thank you
Well, it
for,
depends on what chair you're sitting in.
yes, and it's especially fun over here. I wanted to come to just share a story with you as you begin the process of bringing in a new city leader, a new city team captain in the role of your city administrator. When as you know, I'm lucky enough to serve on the board of Hancock College. And when I was invited to run, the folks who came to me said, well, you know, you're going to have the most important job of all. And I said, what's that? Of course, I thought the answer was helping students succeed. And they said, well, yes, that's important too, but no, it's going to be selecting the new college president. And I realized at that moment that I had never participated at that level in any way, shape, or form. My only experiences participating in informing the hiring process were what I learned here at the City of Santa Maria. First, as a community member, when I was invited to be on panels, when we would bring in new fire chiefs. Frank was our final candidate, or just a few weeks ago when I was invited to serve on the panel for the new police commander. It's an honor and a privilege to be invited first, but also to be really, really heard. And so I started to think back about when I was on council and Tim Ness was the city manager, and then Rick Hayden, he succeeded him, and then bringing in Jason because he had been there, and then, you know, what's the process? We've never, as the city, opened up our process for how we hire a city manager. And I want to just encourage you to use some of the amazing tools that are out there to cast the widest net you can to bring this critical position here to the City of Santa Maria to really guide us for hopefully the next 10 to 20 years. You can see the impact of good hiring by some of the strategies that your own HR person has been integrating into the hiring processes for the City of Santa Maria. And I just want to urge you to apply those to the city management position. The city manager position is the how it gets done. And right now, we have an opportunity, you have an opportunity, first by inviting community in, as well as other department heads, as well as some of the advisory groups, just really for it to be an inclusive process. You never know, the best candidate might be here already, but it's the process that you get to use to engage others to end up finding the best candidate. And I'll close my remarks by saying, some of you know that while I was there to impact the hiring decision of our current president, Kevin Walters, I did not support him, and I did not support his hiring. And I stuck with that because I did not believe at the time that he was the best candidate for our community. And that was okay, because once he was hired, I supported him 100%. And not only did I support him 100%, he made it his goal to find out just what the heck was going on with that Hilda trustee who didn't support me. And really for me, it was simply that I wanted Hancock College to become integrated into community. And I didn't think that he had that in his heart. And boy, was I wrong. Not only has he stepped up in that role, but the leadership he has provided to support the development of all students, especially our first generation, for our homeless, for our formerly incarcerated, so many different ways. But it was the whole team that made that selection, and then the whole team together is now able to support his leadership. So I hope that you will think a little bit about what I said and expand it and open it up and find that new leader for our community. And if there's anything I can do, I am available. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you know,
Thank you, Hilda.
Hilda, what's interesting, and I understand what you're saying, because we have seen superintendents in different districts, but Kevin was just a good fit. There's been people that aren't good fits in our community also, and we've seen that. But thank you very much for your comments.
You know, I want to say that my wife, as you know, she's on the school board, and she just recently, well, a year ago now, recently hired, was involved in the hiring process of Darren. And I have never seen, in all the years she's been doing it, in all the years we've been married, which is almost 50, I've never seen her so engaged in something. And I think that drives home the point that you're saying, that it is a very, very, very important and all-encompassing responsibility. So I think we're all thinking versions of that thought right now as we're heading into closed session, so.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, and thanks for all that you're doing. There's so much cool stuff happening. I mean, sure, we have lots more to do, but there's a lot of really great things happening in the city, so thank you for that.
Thank you, Hilda.
Thank you.
Good evening. The City Council will now recess to a closed session and will reconvene to the regular meeting portion of the agenda at 5:30. Madam Clerk, could you please read the title of the closed session item?
Public Employment Appointment City Manager pursuant to California Government Section 54957.
Okay, and we will reconvene at 5:30. I would like to note that we have an interpretation services for this evening. The interpreter for this evening is Mrs. Villagrana, and she is seated in the back. And please ask her for a listening device if you would like interpretation services. Antes de llamar a la Junta a orden, me gustaría notar que contamos con servicios de interpretación para esta Junta. La intérprete de esta tarde es la señora Villagrana, sentado atrás. I'd like to call this meeting to order for the City Council meeting of August 15th, 2023. Madam Clerk, could you please make an announcement about accessing the meeting and call the roll?
In order to participate in the City Council meeting virtually, please register to speak using the link at the top of the agenda. To raise your hand to speak on a particular agenda item, please use the raise hand button in the Zoom meeting for the item which you are hoping to speak on. If you're using a phone, please press star 9 on your phone telephone keypad and then press star 6 to unmute your phone. When it's your time to speak, you will be requested to unmute your microphone and speak for the time allotted by the mayor. Your microphone will be muted upon completion of your comments. Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez? Here. Councilmember Cordero?
Here.
Councilmember Escobedo?
Here.
Councilmember Soto?
Here.
And Mayor Patino.
Here. City Attorney, Mr. Watson, would you give the closed session report?
Yes, Madam Mayor and members of the council, pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, Public Employment Appointment City Manager, the following two actions were authorized by the council. One is to authorize the Human Resources Department to issue a request for qualifications for an executive recruiting firm, and secondly, to authorize an ad hoc committee consisting of Mayor Patino and Councilmember Soto to review both internal and external candidates. That's all I have to report.
Thank you. First item on the agenda this evening is a proclamation, and I will be making the presentation. Whereas Patricia Patty Rice Boyd, born in 1920, was the granddaughter of Florence and W.H. Rice, who were among the early settlers of the Santa Maria Valley. And whereas Ms. Boyd graduated from Santa Maria High School and attended Santa Maria Junior College before graduating from San Jose State with a degree in music. And whereas she returned to Santa Maria, where she began teaching piano privately and later joined the faculty of Allen Hancock College, where she taught advanced piano. And whereas Ms. Boyd taught piano into her late 80s to generations of music students for well over 6 decades and continued her involvement with the college until her death at the age of 91. And whereas, in addition to her teaching, Ms. Boyd was a consummate supporter of the arts in Santa Maria. She served on the board of the Santa Maria Symphony Society and as a regular attendee and patron for PCPA Theater Fest Productions. Whereas, upon her death in 2012, Ms. Boyd left Allen Hancock College a bequest of $13 million, which was the largest gift to the California Community College up to that time. And whereas $10 million of the gift was designated to provide for a musical performance hall, and the Allen Hancock College Foundation Board of Directors grew the gift to a total of $15 million. And whereas the additional funds established a $2 million endowment for the music program and a $1 million to support PCPA. And whereas Ms. Boyd was a respected, inspirational leader in the community who, by all accounts, taught her students and more than how to play piano. Now, therefore, I, Allison Patino, Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, hereby proclaim August 15th, 2023 as Patty Boyd Day in the City of Santa Maria, and encourage all Santa Marians to remember her long-lasting contributions to the community, including to Allen Hancock College, whose new recital hall has been completed this year. In witness thereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Santa Maria to be affixed this 15th day of August, 2023. And here to receive this is her niece. Where do I have it? Oh, right here. It's to be received by the Patricia Rice, niece of Patty Boyd. And I decided I wanted to read this tonight. I was probably the only person here that knew, everybody in town knew Patty Boyd. She probably didn't know all of us, but we all knew who she was. And what a sweet, sweet, lovely person.
Actually, I'm not the niece of Patty Boyd. I am her namesake. She was my godmother. She was my father's first cousin and a close friend of my mother's as a child. Santa Maria was very small in those days. And she I was probably one of her worst students, but she saw to it that I had a education in the arts. She always bought me a concert ticket every year, and she was just a neat lady. And everywhere we went, we couldn't go to a restaurant and get to our table without running into a parade of people. Remember me, and she would nod. Oh, nice to see you, because she couldn't remember everybody, and of course they'd grown up. Yeah. But she was a great lady, and she has done great things. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being here tonight. Our next item on the agenda this evening is a presentation of the businesses of the month, and Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez and Cordero will be presenting their certificates along with Chamber CEO Glenn Morris. Good evening, Mr. Morris.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, and members of the council, and those who are here with us today. And we're thrilled to be back with you again this month with another installment of our Business of the Month recognitions. As a reminder, this year we are focused on 2 categories of businesses. One is businesses providing health care in our community, and the other are long-standing businesses that have been here in many cases for decades as part of our community. And tonight we'll recognize one, again, in each of those categories. We'll start with the Joint Chiropractic, which is obviously our healthcare recipient this month. And I want to introduce Eric Smith, who is the franchise owner and lead chiropractor for the firm. Eric, why don't you come on up with me? Let me tell you about these. It's a fairly new business in town, but we thought it was important to recognize that because it's important that people understand that our healthcare provider community continues to grow. That as our community is growing, so too are the professionals and the specialists who support us in living a healthy lifestyle. Eric and his team, he has a team of 5 working at the firm. So while they're fairly new in the community, they're growing quickly. They're open 7 days a week and take walk-ins, which is, not often the case. I find when I need a medical appointment. So it's nice that they have that kind of flexibility. And as a new company, they're really out there trying to get engaged in our community, to participate in community activities, sponsorships, things of that nature. And so we want to recognize Eric and his company called the Joint Chiropractic, one of our newer healthcare providers here in the community. And we'll have the presentation, and then I think we'll let you introduce probably the more important people that you brought with you, right? There you go. Let's do that photo. Can we get, yeah, absolutely. He does take walk-ins, Mike. But Councilmember, I think HIPAA rules would prevent us from knowing any more about what you need tonight. Eric.
Thank you so much for honoring us tonight. We're very happy to be here. Me, my wife, and my daughter Daisy are here as well. They're accompanying me this evening. We are brand new to the area. We've only lived here for a few months, but we love it here so far. We're very happy to be here. We're happy to serve the community of Santa Maria for many more years to come. Just real quick about our business, like he said, we're open 7 days a week, don't take walk-ins. Our mission statement is to improve quality of life through routine and affordable chiropractic care, and I look forward to seeing any of you in our office in the future. Thank you.
Welcome to Santa Maria. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go to the other end of the spectrum and focus on a business that has been here much longer than a few months or even a few years. Our long-standing business this month is Kirk & Seamus. I think a name that is well known in our community. Hopefully in more cases than not, that's a positive connotation and not, because of other experiences, right? So Kirk & Seamus works with private and public sector clients to solve legal challenges across a full range of industries, legal practices, and specialties. Their focus areas include business, real estate, employment law, estate planning, agricultural enterprises, and civil litigation matters. The firm was originally begun in 1951. Robert Trapp established a law practice and then joined Dan Kirk in joining their practices together in 1956. The firm was known as Trapp & Kirk until 1972, when Bob was appointed as a judge in the Santa Barbara Superior Court. Alex Seamus joined Dan Kirk's practice to form Kirk & Seamus in 1976. Dan retired in 1993. It says other distinguished firm alumni include Santa Barbara Superior Court judges James Regali and Karen O'Neill, City Councilwoman Maribel Aguilera, and retired Santa Barbara Superior Court Commissioner Denise Motter, and former Santa Barbara County Supervisor Joni Gray. Again, all names that I think we know and respect in our community. Originally a 2-lawyer firm with 1 staff support person, the firm is now the largest law firm headquartered in the Santa Maria. It attributes its growth to its collaborative model of practice management. Today, the firm employs 14, 6 attorneys, and 8 staff are part of the team today. Thought this was interesting. One of Kirk & Seamus' core values is, quote, "We are here to serve our community, to build a place we can be proud of, to do meaningful work, and then to share that success with our family, neighbors, and friends." Since the firm's earliest beginnings, it has practiced this core value by contributing to the community as individuals and as small groups. Current and past lawyers and staff have served on almost every committee there is in Santa Maria, and I think that probably is true. They've served on the Los Padres Council for the Boy Scouts, the Police Council, the Elks, City Council, the City Planning Commission, the Women's Network, Orchid Union School District, to name a few. I think it's interesting that the partners continue to serve. All three are serving on the boards of different community organizations today. And so, Mayor, members of the council, it is my honor to recognize two of the three firm shareholders today, Alex Seamus and Christian Salgado, who are with us tonight. One more.
It's the only way we can get to see Maribel now that she's thank you for all the kind words, Glenn, and for this recognition. We're really only just a small business. We've been around for a long time, but we're just a small business. And we've got people that are involved in the community, but that's like dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of other small businesses in town. And that's what makes Santa Maria a great place to be. We've got a lot of alumni. He talked about some of them. Maribel, it's a shame she couldn't be here tonight, but your Chief Deputy City Clerk, Rhonda White, used to be my paralegal many, many, many years ago. I aged, she didn't. And we brought a bunch of members of our team are here tonight. Come on, wave your hands. Wave your hands. Just thank you so much for this honor.
I just want to say thank you to Kirk and Stevens for continuing to serve the legal needs of our community and for being involved in the community. Thank you.
Alex, you keep losing all these women. Okay, it's a good thing. Thank you. Next, another proclamation, and Councilmember Soto will be making the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This proclamation is in recognition of Library Card Sign-Up Month. Whereas Library Card Sign-Up Month was created in 1987 as a national campaign sponsored by the American Library Society, the National Commission on Libraries, and Information Science, and libraries across the country to emphasize the importance of library cards to a child's education. And whereas libraries play a crucial role in the education and development of children, offering a variety of programs to spark creativity and stimulate an interest in reading and learning. And whereas libraries provide a learning environment that fosters joyful exploration and encourages residents to research subjects they are curious about. And whereas library cards provide residents opportunities to connect to resources and information which will positively impact their quality of life. And whereas Library Card empowers all people to pursue their dreams, explore new passions and interests, and find their voice. And whereas the Santa Maria Public Library encourages community members to take advantage of the library's many resources, print and electronic materials, databases, specially curated programming, and free services to support early literacy skills and continuing lifelong educational support. Now, therefore, the Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, Alice Patino, hereby proclaims September 2023 as Library Card Sign-Up Month in the City of Santa Maria and encourages all residents to sign up for a free library card and connect with fellow community members at the Santa Maria Public Library or one of its branches to promote greater awareness of library services and the value of libraries the value that libraries provide to community. And here to accept the proclamation is Laura Selkin, President of the Library Board of Trustees.
Good evening, Mayor Patino and council members. First of all, I would like to thank you for reappointing me last month to the Board of Trustees so that I could remain as president. And I really, it is an honor to be a part of our city's library. It's an amazing facility. I'm going to repeat some of the stuff maybe she said, but I do want to thank you for your recognition of September as Library Card Sign-Up Month. A library card offers exceptional value to all residents of all ages, not just children, in our community in so many ways. As this year's theme states, its national theme is "A library card is elemental." It is a primary source of free access to printed and digital books of all kinds for all readers at all levels, as well as magazines, newspapers, movies, music, and more. And our bookmobile makes it even easier, as it enables us to come to the residents of our community close to where they live. A library card is basic in assisting residents with a job search, investigating ancestry, getting a passport, doing research, learning a new language or hobby, and even visiting state parks. A library card is essential for exploring our special collections. The Library of Things offers items such as musical instruments, sports equipment, a telescope, metal detectors, and technology items to try at home. We have STEAM kits, that's science, technology, engineering, art, and math, and other kits that offer opportunities for engaging early learning and academic support. We have Vox recorded books that allow children and caregivers to read aloud together in a variety of languages. Our technology collection offers mobile hotspots, laptops, and learning tablets. Those can all be checked out. It is fundamental to encourage everyone to have a card and to visit the library to experience a variety of services and exciting programming. We have a maker space, which includes a 3D printer, button makers, and creative STEAM supplies galore, story times and book clubs for various ages, homework help, musical performances, even opera is coming this weekend. And of course, we have diverse and exciting speakers. All this and more makes it easy to see how our library is elemental to our community, and a library card is the first step in exploring all that it has to offer. Our library can save community members hundreds and even thousands of dollars per year in materials, programs, and services. But even more valuable, these library resources help all community members grow, find their voices, and thrive in our city. During Library Card Sign-Up Month, the library invites all community members who do not have a free library card to come to their nearest Santa Maria Library location, the main library, or our branches in Orchid, Guadalupe, Los Alamos, and Cuyama, or visit the bookmobile when it is in your neighborhood. Remember, a library card is elemental to learning and exploring so much at our library, and it's all free.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. Next, we have another proclamation, and Councilmember Escobedo will be making the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And this proclamation is for Literacy Awareness Month. And before I jump into it, I'm really grateful of being the one presenting this proclamation. As my mother tongue, as you already know, it's Spanish. I'm really proud of it. However, having access to a second language had given me not just tools to have information, but also understand a culture. And I think that's the big value of learning a second, third language. And it's just not about just talking something else. It's about understanding, also sharing with our pride the value that we can offer from where we came from. So I'm really happy to be presenting this proclamation. Whereas the City of Santa Maria recognizes the importance of literacy and English language proficiency as vital to the social and economic development of all its residents. And whereas the mission of the nonprofit Central Coast Literacy Council is empowering lives through English literacy. And whereas the Central Coast Literacy Council provides free literacy services to residents and their families to develop and grow the skills to enter the workforce, volunteer, become involved with children's education, progress their educational goals, and upward mobility in their place of work. And whereas the Central Coast Literacy Council will promote National Literacy Month in September by encouraging all residents to visit the Santa Maria Public Library and explore new worlds. Now, therefore, Alice M. Patino, Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, hereby proclaims September 2023 as Literacy Awareness Month in the City of Santa Maria and encourage all Santa Marians to help increase literacy awareness, volunteer as a literacy tutor, and become a learner of the Central Coast Literacy Council. And here to accept this proclamation, we have the Executive Director of the Central Coast Literacy Council, Laura Arteaga.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council members. On behalf of our learners, our volunteers, our Board of Directors, and our staff, I'd like to thank you for this proclamation. It is an honor to receive it. And thank you, City Council Escobedo, for sharing your story that shares the heart of all of our learners, actually, so thank you. So what is Central Coast Literacy Council? You did hear the proclamation, and I'd just like to share that our volunteers are invaluable to us, just like many nonprofits. They are the highlight of our organization. We would not exist without them. Some of the things in addition to what was shared in the proclamation that I'd like to share with you is, as a result of our learners meeting with their tutor, our learners have the ability to learn how to read, write, or speak English. They also are able to attain jobs and get and receive promotions at work. A lot of our learners are able to obtain their U.S. citizenship. Some of them have become more involved in their children's education, which is key to the success of any family in our community. And also, I'd like to share, we did launch our family literacy program in collaboration with the City of Santa Maria Public Library 3 years ago. And some of those families, like this past year, they are learning to read as a family for the very first time. And that is not to be taken lightly. We have seen families be transformed because of that. Some of them were able to pass their general education diploma exam. Some of them were able to be able to attain equitable access to community resources. And the list goes on. But all of our learners, because they entered through those doors that we are located at the library, first floor, once they enter those doors, their life is never the same. And that's just not a cliche. That's literally what happens. And so oftentimes people will ask us, come to the library, or they call us and they'll say, how can we help? And we always have the answer, of course. We say, well, you could become a donor or you could become a volunteer. Our list, our waiting list continually grows, so we are always in need of volunteers. And all we ask is 1 hour of your time. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that will literally change someone's life. You know, I was at a local steakhouse and I ran into one of our learners from many, many years ago, and she was just recently promoted to more of a management of the team. And she said, have you seen my tutor, Ralph Tilton? And you know, he's retired since then. And her face just lit up when she saw me, not because of what I did, but because of what Mr. Tilton did, a retired teacher. And her life has been changed forever, single mom. She's now able to provide for her son. Her son's just going to college this year. I heard their whole story, and that touches my heart. So when I go to work every day, I show up and I just feel honored to work here, because I have a great team of people, and I'd like to introduce our board, some of our board of directors and our staff. Thank you. And I'd also like to recognize someone I work with closely. We always say we're not co-workers, but we work in the same building. Ms. Dawn Jackson, city librarian. She is, I work closely with her, and it's a joy to work with you, and I appreciate all your support. Madam Mayor, City Council members, some of you I have not worked yet, but I look forward to doing that. Ms. Soto, Mr. Cordero, thank you for supporting our cause, and new council members that I have not worked with, I will be contacting you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have to say, Mrs. Arteaga, I know that I've been to several dinners, and your organization, and specifically you, have transformed many, many lives. When people get up and talk about when they came into your doors and how being able to be literate has transformed their life. And I remember one woman who came over from Mexico, and she had 2 young children, and she said, the only way I'm going to help my children is if I learn to read and write English. And she wanted to get a better job so she could elevate herself and get her kids into school, and work really hard to do that. And so there's been many, many stories like that that I've heard. So thank you very much for what you do in the city of Santa Maria. The next presentation I will be making, it is going to be accepted by the American Cancer Society Executive Director, Deb Jeffers, and this is regarding pediatric cancer. Whereas more than 10,000 new cases of cancer will be diagnosed among children under 15 years of age in the United States in 2023. And whereas the most common childhood cancers are leukemia, brain and central nervous system tumors, and in lymphoma, accounting for more than half of all cancers diagnosed in children. And whereas the cause of most pediatric cancers remains largely unknown, and whereas the 5-year survival rate for all childhood cancers has climbed from less than 50% to 80% for children and adolescents under the age of 21, as a result of clinical trials over the past 4 decades. And whereas families, caregivers, charities, and research groups across the United States observe September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month to spotlight pediatric cancer and survivor programs, raise awareness and necessary funds for research and family support. And whereas it is appropriate to remember the young lives taken too soon and their families. Now therefore, I, Alice Patino, Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, recognize September 2023 as National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Santa Maria, and urge residents and businesses of the city to support efforts raising awareness about pediatric cancer. And witness thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Santa Maria to be affixed this 15th day of August 2023. And here to accept this is Deb Jeffers from the American Cancer Society.
Today, I stand before you with immense gratitude and heartfelt appreciation on behalf of the American Cancer Society and the Teddy Bear Cancer Foundation. The proclamation of September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month makes a significant step forward in our collective fight against pediatric cancer. Childhood cancer is an issue that touches the lives of countless families in our community and beyond. The impact of this disease cannot be overstated, and it is through united efforts like those we see here today that we can truly make a difference. By designating September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, you are not only raising awareness about the struggles faced by young cancer warriors and their families, but also highlighting the incredible strength and resilience that they embody. Through your support, we are fostering a sense of unity and compassion that transcends boundaries and reminds us of the power of coming together for a common cause. The collaboration between the American Cancer Society and the Teddy Bear Cancer Foundation is a testament to what can be achieved when organizations, communities, and local leaders unite in the pursuit of a better tomorrow. With your endorsement, we can spread awareness, raise critical funds for research, and provide much-needed support to those who are navigating the challenges of childhood cancer. As we embark on the journey of Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, let us remember the brave children who inspire us every day and their courage. Let us honor their spirit by working together to ensure a future where no child has to face the darkness of cancer alone. Once again, thank you, City Council members, for your unwavering support and dedication to making a positive impact in the lives of our young cancer warriors. Your commitment lights the path towards a brighter, healthier future for all. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda this evening is public comment period. Madam Clerk, could you please read the criteria for public comment portion of the agenda?
This time is reserved to accept comments from the public on consent agenda items, closed session items, or matters not on the printed agenda this evening. If you are participating via Zoom and wish to make a public comment, now is the time to raise your hand in the Zoom portal. Unless otherwise directed by the mayor, speakers will have 3 minutes to comment. Direction to staff may be given, however, state law does not allow action to be taken on matters not on the printed agenda. Once the public comment period commences, no other speakers will be allowed to submit a request to speak form or request acknowledgement in Zoom.
Thank you. Do we have any online?
We do not have any
Okay.
on Zoom. We have one here in the room.
Okay. Mr. Gary Hall? Good evening, Mr. Hall.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members, staff, and the citizens of Santa Maria. My name is Gary Hall. I'm a resident of Rancho Buena Vista Mobile Estates at 2135 North Railroad Avenue here in Santa Maria. I represent the North Santa Barbara County Mobile Homeowners Team, or NSBIT. I am speaking again tonight to once again ask the City of Santa Maria to join over 100 other California jurisdictions that through enactment of rent stabilization ordinances and programs have provided their mobile home park residents with protection from excessive rent increases, and in that way help to maintain affordable housing for their senior and low-income citizens. The existing model lease does not do that. As a reminder, on June 6, 2022, Council members Soto, Escobedo, and Cordero passed the motion to examine the model lease agreement, looking for ways to improve it and to look at alternatives. Thank you. Unfortunately, now 14 months later, that work still remains undone. A few stakeholder meetings have been conducted. The most recent meeting between the mobile home residents and city representatives was held July 21st. Since then, our mobile home rent stabilization subcommittee met with our attorney, Bruce Stanton, and we have prepared a written response. Mr. Stanton sent that response titled Santa Maria Mobile Homeowners Status Report and Proposal Moving Forward via email to each of you today. We mobile home owners now desire to move this process forward without further delay to discuss and obtain consensus on implementing specific changes and procedures to the existing model lease agreement. We continue to view our goal as being to provide protection to all Santa Maria mobile home residents presently living in an unregulated rental market where the current model lease program has been ineffective in protecting homeowner equity and maintaining affordable mobile home housing. Homeowners previously identified 4 issue areas which have been guiding discussions thus far. We request continuing with the same issue outline as our agenda for future meetings. However, we also suggest that a dashboard be created and maintained of the issue areas and possible solutions as the stakeholders work through them. We view the city's role as critical to this process and desire to be that of a proactive facilitator and, where required, mediator. We are thankful for the time the staff has devoted thus far and are hopeful that productive discussions do lie ahead in the very near future, leading to positive change. And we continue to believe, given your political will, it is possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on next, before we move on, Ms. Lee, did you wish to make any comments?
No comment. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on next, we have the committee appointments. Madam Clerk, could you please read the title?
The City Council will consider making appointments to the Block Grants Advisory Committee and the Measure U Citizens Oversight Committee.
Thank you. Do we have any requests to speak or written correspondence?
We do not.
Okay, so you can continue with staff report?
Madam Mayor? Oh, question.
Yes,
Are we already into it, or do we need to go?
not yet. She's
Okay.
going to get given the reports, yeah. Okay.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, the request before you tonight is to make various appointments to the committees just mentioned. I will present the committees one at a time for consideration of the appointments and the City Council's ratification. The Block Grants Advisory Committee has a total of 4 vacancies at this time. Staff received applications from 2 incumbents, Esther Acosta, who was previously nominated by Councilmember Moats, and Isaac Berhuman, previously nominated by Councilmember Cordero. 2 new applications were received by Amelia Gonzalez Paz and Tammy Castillo Schiffer. Ms. Castillo Schiffer is also the sole applicant for the Measure U Citizens Oversight Committee, and due to potential conflicts of interest, staff recommends appointing Ms. Castillo Schiffer to only one committee. The appointees will serve a term of 3 years, each ending in July 2026. Council members Escobedo, Cordero, and Soto each have a nomination to fill on this committee. Councilmember Soto also has an additional nomination to fill for the unexpired term ending in July 2025. Following the nominations, appointments will then be confirmed by the mayor with ratification by the City Council.
Thank you. Mr. Cordero, do you have a nomination?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. I would like to reappoint Isaac Berman. He and I have talked, and he's very interested in staying on.
Thank you. Mr. Escobedo, do you have a nomination?
Yeah, I would like to, and I did have a really interesting conversation with Esther Acosta. She's just so dedicated to her community, so I would like to nominate her.
Thank you. Councilmember Soto, do you have a nomination?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Tammy Castillo Schiffer.
Okay. I accept these nominations and make a motion to appoint these nominees to the Block Grants Advisory Committee.
A second.
Okay, I have a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Mayor Patino?
Aye.
Councilmember Escobedo?
Aye.
Councilmember Aguilera Hernandez?
Aye.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
And Councilmember Soto.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, can you continue?
With these appointments, staff will continue to advertise for the unfilled vacancies, and that is the end of my report.
Okay. So we don't have an appointment for the Measure U?
We don't have any applications.
Okay. Moving right along. Okay. So moving on to the next item is the consent calendar. Madam Clerk, could you please read the description?
Routine items are presented for City Council approval without discussion as a single agenda item in order to expedite the meeting. The consent calendar is approved by roll call vote with one motion. These items are discussed only on the request of council members.
Does anyone have an item they wish to pull for discussion? None? Okay, do I have a motion?
I move.
A second.
I have a second. I have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Any discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Aguilera Hernandez?
Aye.
Councilmember Escobedo?
Aye.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Soto?
Aye.
And Madam Mayor Patino.
Aye. Next, we have a public hearing. Madam Clerk, could you please read the title?
The City Council will conduct a public hearing to receive comments on the Community Development Block Grant funding priorities for fiscal year 2024-25.
Staff report is being made by Community Programs Manager, Ms. Rojo.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. We come before you tonight asking that the City Council adopts a resolution accepting the Block Grants Advisory Committee's recommendations for fiscal year 2024-2025 Community Development Block Grant Funding, better known as CDBG. So we're asking you tonight to approve the funding priorities that have been recommended by the committee. On an annual basis, the Block Grants Advisory Committee reviews the priorities outlined in the city's 5-year consolidated plan and decides whether the priorities need to be modified based on the unmet needs of the community. These priorities are one of the tools used by the committee and the City Council to determine what activities and projects should receive funding to maximize the impact CDBG funds have on city residents. As part of the CDBG funding process, staff conducted a community needs workshop on Monday, July 31st. During this was in-person discussion, service providers spoke before the committee expressing their thoughts on the unmet needs. The expressed needs are on your screen. They include abuse, trauma victim services, at-risk youth services, food insecurity, mental health services, minor home repair services, senior assistance, and services for the unhoused. The needs expressed at this meeting are all reflected in the existing CDBG funding priorities. Therefore, no changes to the verbiage are recommended. So on the screen, you see the first 2 priorities, and then I'm going to forward the slide, and you see the other 2 priorities. So there's a total of 4 priorities. As a reminder, the numbers next to the priorities are simply there as a reference and not to rank them. Also, priorities 1 and 2 will only be considered for public services funding. This will narrow down the applicants who seek CDBG public services funding and also better reflect the community's needs. Capital funding will consider all 4 priorities. So what's next after adopting tonight's resolution? We will move forward with our CDBG funding process for the following fiscal year. That includes putting out our notice of funding availability at the end of this week. And then in September, we will have the capital project proposals due. And in October, we will come to you with those proposals. And then we will have our mandatory pre-application workshop, which is required of all applicants. And then all applications will be due in December, and the process will start all over again. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions from council?
Yes, I do have a question.
Yes. Ms. Aguilera?
Mayor, the capital projects proposal, you said that is due when?
The proposal is due on the 12th, September 12th.
Okay.
Mr. Escobar, you had a
Thank you,
question?
Madam Mayor. Yes, in the slides number 4, proposed priorities, unmet needs expressed. So there's a list. Is that just randomly put together, or it was because the number 1 request from the community is the abuse, trauma victim services?
Thank you, Councilmember Escobedo. No, they are not listed in any particular order. It's simply what was expressed at the July 31st meeting from the members that attended.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I attended the meeting on, it was July 31st, and I realize people get up from the nonprofits and advocate for their organization. But one woman came and she said it was because her grandmother, 90-plus years, could stay in her home because one of the organizations which does the minor home repair came in and made these repairs in her home. She says, my grandmother's got, 13 or 15 grandkids, but none of us knew how to do this. But so those are good stories to hear because it doesn't make the headlines any place, but it's good stories to hear because their grandmother gets to stay in her home because of an organization like this. So thank you. Anyway, and thank you for putting the meeting together. It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, I'd like to open up for a public hearing. Do we have any requests to speak or written correspondence?
We do not, Madam Mayor.
Okay, I will close the public hearing, bring this item back to the council for discussion and any direction to staff. Any questions?
No discussion.
If there's no discussion, I would like to put the motion of approving the Community Development Block Grant priorities for the 24-25 fiscal year funding process.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Escobedo?
Aye.
Councilmember Soto?
Aye.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez?
Aye.
Madam Mayor Patino?
Aye. Moving on to a regular business item, Madam Clerk, could you please read the title?
The City Council will receive a presentation for financing options relating to facilities improvement, specifically for the Fire Station Number 1 expansion project, as well as actions being taken by city staff to research available funding options.
Thank you. Staff report is to be made by Director of Finance, Ms. Harvey.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. I have a quick presentation for you to give you an update on some financing options for the Fire Station Number 1 expansion and also other facilities that we may want to finance. Okay, I'm going to see if I can actually work this. Okay, I think I actually skipped one, but yep, it's very touchy over here, sorry. So our first slide here is just going to give us what we're going to talk about, background, some of those options that I talked about, and then we'll request some direction from City Council on how you'd like staff to proceed. So background-wise, during the mid-cycle budget, we identified a $6 million budget shortfall for the Fire Station Number 1 expansion. The project was approximately $10 million, and we already have about $4 million that was identified for that project. So currently, right now, the design work is in progress for the project. In addition, we also identified that there's significant additional capital costs that we're anticipating, and we're currently looking at a facilities condition assessment, and those results are being worked on with Public Works from a consultant, and we expect the final report on that by the end of the calendar year of 2023. Like I mentioned, at the June 2023 City Council meeting for the mid-cycle budget, the council had asked us to come back with some financing options for that $6 million shortfall. And so today we're going to be presenting those preliminary research on those options. Okay, come on, there we go. So one of the first things we could do is you could secure a bank loan for the $6 million. That is from a governmental entity that's considered a lease financing, but it's the same as getting a loan from a bank. And typically the bank loans are from 5 to 10 years. And there's slightly higher interest rates than doing some other financings. It's a short term, considered short term. There is a lower cost of issuance, less administrative requirements to do that. It's much like trying to, a little bigger, grander scale, but like getting a mortgage, you have a lot of information to provide. You have a finance advisor that helps you with that. But it's a shorter process to do that. Another option is a revenue bond issuance. That would be a bigger financing, and it would be utilizing the facility conditions assessment report, and we would include the Fire Station 1 expansion in that. The revenue bonds do not require voter approval. It would require additional assessment time to complete. It takes us a longer period because you're going to need to have the scope of the projects figured out, so that'll be part of that. Utilizing that facility conditions report, you would come up with the programs or the projects and the scope of work for each one. The bonds issuance terms are a longer range, usually up to 30 years. And then the interest rates are typically a little bit better rates than the bank loans. And those will be based on really more on the market conditions and terms of the issuance. There's a lot of things that go into that rate that we would be able to get. There are higher costs of issuance and certainly an increase in administrative requirements. There's a bigger finance team where you have the finance advisor, you have a bond counsel, you have trustees. There's a lot more work you put into it. It's on staff, and then going forward, you have continuing disclosure, things like that. So there is, but that is an option when you want to have a bigger financing to do more projects. In addition, some other considerations that could be looked at are general obligation bonds. Those do require 2/3 voter approval, so you would have to go to the voters, and they would have to approve that bond. If you did decide to do something of that sort or would like to look into that, you would want to look at some tax-exempt bonds, because those are lower cost rates, but there are some conditions with those. When you have those better rates and tax-exempt, they want you to spend it within 3 years of receiving those funds, so that has a stipulation in there. In addition, another option might be, in this case, maybe to look at a two-prong approach and secure a bank loan for the $6 million for the finance or the fire station expansion project, and then do a revenue bond financing for once the facility conditions assessment is identified and we can determine more of that scope, and then you can refinance the loan, the bank loan, into that bond, revenue bond issuance. And then, of course, there is also, we can still look and search for grant funding that is available for public safety facilities. And see, and then that concludes my presentation. We are asking for council's consideration or direction on how they would like us to move forward. I would like to note that I did speak with Director Falgoni this afternoon, and the fire station expansion, the construction portion, is not expected until approximately May or June of next year, is when they expect the construction to be ready. So one of the things that we will need to consider too is the timing of financing, because typically a lender is going to want it to be closer to when the actual use is needed, or in other words, closer to this construction date, because that's what you're going to be utilizing the funds for. So happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions?
I
Yes,
do.
Ms. Soto?
I think I need a little bit more help understanding how revenue bonds operate. I'm familiar with the general bond, like the ones that go on, that need to be passed by voters, but the revenue bond, especially if it's going to be tied to Measure U funding. What happens in the event, let's say, a recession and that tax revenue isn't coming in? How would we pay? Where would the revenue be generated to pay for this?
Right. Thank you for the question. So the revenue bonds, it's really considered a lease revenue bonds. They always have these little technical terms, but lease revenue bonds, and it is secured based on this revenue streams. So it can be utilized through Measure U is a revenue stream. General fund has revenue streams. There are some that you would utilize that for. Depending on the value of that, you know, that would be part of that assessment of how big of a bond issue would you want to have, because you are obligating a certain amount of payment. So it's how you determine how much that payment is each month, or each year you're going to have, and you'll have to, that would be a consideration that council would have. What are you comfortable with in having that liability, knowing that you're going to have to cover those costs?
And so when you say go after or apply for a private loan, which right now interest rates are astronomical, we would then somewhere after getting that loan, we would refinance it into a revenue bond?
You certainly can do that, based on the, well, depending on how you set up your loan, but certainly that would be something that we would want to look at, is the ability to refinance at a certain point in time. It really depends on how you set up the loan. Again, that would be the terms that we would want to look at. And if that is our intention, that we want to be able to do that, then we would make sure that our, that loan or that financing has that. Similarly, with the revenue bonds, you can refinance revenue bonds as well. You can reissue, just so we did that with the water and wastewater bonds. So there's certain things that, that can be done later on to improve the interest rate and save money in that sense. So those are things that with, it's the evaluation of the loan and whether it's worth doing the loan, if those benefits outweigh the costs because we do know that we need to improve many of our facilities. So.
And what are the rates right now for revenue bonds?
It
Do
varies.
those also vary?
It varies. Talking with our financial advisor that helped us with the water and wastewater bonds, they did give us just kind of a ballpark rate, and that was at about 5%.
5%.
So,
Yeah, I'm just curious because I know the mayor talks a lot about about the city taking a lot of pride in paying as we go. And so I'm just curious how we would move. But it sounds like we've done this with wastewater. And so my only concern is like, well, what happens if that revenue doesn't come in, and how do we pay back this loan? But I think we can outweigh the risk once we see what we qualify for and what the loan payment would be.
and I think that is something that, depending on which direction you want to go or more information you want to have, then staff can provide that, and we can have a finance, if we have more details of what the scope is that we want, how big do we want this bond issuance, or what are we looking for? Those types of things are what the finance advisors need to help us give those what ifs, like if you will, the scenarios that we're wanting to look for. It's hard for them to give us an estimate when we're not sure how big we're going or how small we're going, because those things play into it. And timing, again, will play into that too.
I know we're discussing right now the financing on this, but what are the improvements we are talking about?
I'm going to defer that to Public Works Director Fulgoni.
Okay, can you hear me? Yes. Essentially, it's it's expanding the fire station. So remodel of the existing facility and then building an entire new, basically, the kitchen all has to be redone. The forgive me, the places where they sleep, the bedrooms, all that area. So we're really going to be touching the entire facility.
Okay. Okay, so you really can't piecemeal this. It's got to be the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Okay. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak or written communications?
We do not, Madam Mayor.
Okay, I'll bring this item back to the council. Any discussion and direction to staff? I guess I'll give my typical soapbox. When we cut the ribbon at the library, what, 36 million? That was all paid for. When we cut that ribbon, we went in there. The transit center, we did the same thing. And we did 2 fire stations that we got with grant funding before that. And then we did the police station also for quite a few million. So those were all paid for when we entered. So.
And just because, let's say we move forward with what's recommended, that doesn't mean that, I mean, we can always consider, it's basically seeing what the options are for financing.
Right. What we're doing right now is just investigative work. What direction does the council want the staff to take? Do you want more information in one area versus another, or both, or how do we want, we need direction on how to move forward for you.
Ms. Soto.
May I
Sure.
ask one more question?
Sure.
I didn't ask much about the general obligation bonds, and the concern with that would be that we have to spend all the revenues generated from that within 3 years. Is that what I'm understanding correctly?
That, from the time you receive it, yes, you have to, for the tax exempt ones, which is typically what you would want to do for a GO bond, a general obligation bond, and the fact that you do have to go to the voters, so it is a much longer process, obviously. You have to go to the voters and have them approve them, and so it is a bigger effort, and that we again, we can get more information if that's the direction of what the need is for that and what requirements there are.
Mr. Cordero.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Have we looked into the grants? And I assume we already have.
I'm going to defer, I think that's on Chief Dandridge's plate right now. I think he's been scouring.
I'll just add, we do have a grant consulting, a grant firm that assists us with keeping in the loop on all the grants that are coming up, and we have not seen any that this would qualify for. So to that extent, yes, there are all sorts of grants coming out all the time. We also talk with a federal lobbyist, our lobbyist Greg, and he keeps us in the loop of anything that would qualify for this type of funding. The goal is we do have the funding for design, and so we're continuing with design. If a grant does come out, we will be ready for that. We will be shovel ready, so.
Thank you.
Mr. Escobedo?
Just to clarify, so basically, if we go for one specific option, you guys will take it, do some research about what exactly it would look like, and how long would that process take?
It will depend upon what you request, what process it is, and how much time it takes us, looking at those details, what we'll need to bring back, right? If so, the more detail we have on the scope of the projects, for example, if we know that we're just going to do just the Fire Station 1 expansion, that's a much more defined scope. We probably can get back some more information on that, relatively quickly back information on what it would look like. Then we have to go through the whole process of, going with the finance advisory and getting the bank loans, going through that whole process, which I would estimate would probably be about 3 months before you're completely done, and to you guys back to council for approval of that. So it takes time to one, research, then you have to, let's say research is good, we're going to go forward with it, we're going to move forward, then we have to put all the paperwork together, all of those things, and get the loan, and then we'd have to come back to council to say, approve the loan that we're moving forward. So it does take some time. So I would estimate about 3 months for that process. The bond issuance would be much longer. I would guesstimate at 6 months, but based on once we have the scope of the projects, because you have to have that scope for them to really determine, one, how much the bond's going to be, and then the timing of it, because again, they're going to want it to be relatively close or scoped out work so that they know what they're financing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Soto?
I would be interested in learning or doing more research on the revenue bond.
Okay.
But
That's fine, yeah.
and then seeing where that goes. And I know that sounds like it's going to be a lengthy process.
And you said how long on the revenue bonds to get the information?
Well, I think I'll work with Director Fulgoni on some of the scope of what we think those types of things, the work would be and how much, and then we, decide kind of some scalability of, whether it's a $30 million bond or a $50 million bond or what that is, if we could figure out what the payments would be and the timing and that kind of get some what ifs, and could definitely, I would recommend that we have our financial advisor come and speak to answer more of your questions, because they're going to be able to answer much more succinctly than I can, because I'm not a financing expert. I know the basics and the basic requirements, but when it gets down to the real nitty-gritty, they would be able to answer a lot more for you.
Okay. Done. Any other options? And of course, you're already looking at grant funding, so, yes. Mr. Escobedo, anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted that it would be good to, have those two processes, or the process that it's decided here, along with a grant search.
Mr. Cordero, anything? Okay, is that direction enough for you?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item will be a report by City Manager, be given by Chief Human Resource Officer Linda Lee.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor. Thank you. The September 5th and September 19th regular City Council meetings are canceled. The League of California Cities Conference is scheduled from September 20th through September 22nd. The upcoming agenda for the October 3rd regular City Council meetings includes Proclamation for Active Aging Week, Proclamation for Fire Prevention Week, and Proclamation for Code Enforcement Week. Additionally, fiscal year 2024-2025 CDBG capital project proposal presentation. And that concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, we'll have oral reports of council members. And Mr. Cordero, can we start with you?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know this is a little before the last meeting, but on the 31st, I also attended that meeting at the regarding CDBG at the library, which was very informative, a good meeting, and I remember the lady talking about her mother being able to stay in her home. It was also very well attended. On 8/1, I attended the night out at the fairgrounds after the last council meeting. That was also very well attended. There was a lot of activity going on. Law enforcement had a great presence there. On 8/4, I attended a forum to address the homelessness that's run by Santa Barbara County, and that was a Zoom meeting. And there's always a lot of people discussing new and innovative ideas regarding that. It's just a never-ending issue that we deal with. Today, along with all the council, I attended a check presentation from Congressman Salud Carbajal for $500,000 that is going to go toward the Japanese museum cultural center there that's going to be on South Bradley. And I also want to comment, this is not something that I attended, but I have been receiving phone calls regarding the mural, the new mural, relatively new mural that's out in front of the City Hall. And I saw it in the paper, but I didn't go by it and look at it myself until a couple of weeks ago, and that is a very informative piece of art. It's very well done, and it's a real eye catcher. I think that is enough that a lot of people are commenting on it to me. Is it appropriate that I comment on Jason? Yeah, I want to comment on the resignation of Jason Stillwell. And I don't know if he's listening or not, but certainly to thank him for everything that he's done over the last several years. And he's taken us places where we otherwise might not have gone, and done a great job at managing the budget, assembling the team of all of these people in the office here, in the chamber. And I think that we will, for years to come, as in the past city managers, we owe him a debt of gratitude for his contribution to the city. And I certainly appreciate the learning that I got to do from him. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cordero. Mr. Escobedo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On August 1st, I attended the very well-attended National Night Out, and it was so much fun. It was great to see families and everybody just having a great evening. And today I attended, along with all of you, the presentation for the $500,000 check from our Congressman Salud Carvajal. So, yeah, it's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Aguilera Hernandez?
Yes, on 8/2 I attended, 8/1 I also attended the National Night Out. On 8/2 I attended the Ben Hayes Show. On 8/10 I attended the Investment Committee meeting. On 8/13 Sunday I attended concerts in the park. And today I also attended the check presentation from U.S. Congressman Salud Carvajal for the Japanese Center.
Thank you. Ms. Soto?
On August 1st, I attended National Night Out, and I want to thank the public, the Utilities Department, thank you, for delivering a recycle bin, a composting bin. So I've been using it, so thank you so much to you all for that. On Friday, August 4th, I attended the elected Leaders Forum on homelessness. On today, August 15th, I also attended the presentation of the $500,000 for the Japanese Community Center. So thank you to Congress for that. And that is all I have to report.
Thank you. On the 1st of August, I also attended a National Night Out. Every time we change the venue, I think, gee, this is really great. We need to do it here, and then the next year it'll be a different venue, and I like it just as well. So it's really the different venues that we have here are just great. On the 4th of August, I attended the Elected Leaders Forum to address homelessness and APCD Board of Directors agenda meeting. On the 9th of August, I went out to Taylor Farms. They are going to be impacted by what SBCAG wants to do on 166 near Guadalupe. On the 10th, I attended the AmeriCorps graduation in Los Olivos. So while everyone was getting rained on, I missed the rain in Los Olivos. And the AmeriCorps is the group that comes in with United Way and helps with the homeless and goes out and does outreach with our homeless. And on 11th, I met with one of our pastors here in town about youth, and on the 14th, I met with SEIU, and today I was also there for the presentation of the check from Congressman Carvajal from the federal government, and this will go through to the Japanese Cultural Center. And we had many of our Japanese community were there today. And so the ribbon cutting, the groundbreaking will be coming up soon, and then there will be a ribbon cutting. And ladies and gentlemen, meeting is adjourned.